So yesterday we were discussing about the causes of overhydration. Today we'll discuss what will happen in overhydration, the symptoms of overhydration. Then we'll go over dehydration. If time permits, I'll start COPD as well, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Right. We'll do the same thing about pathology and pharmacology. The first 3 days, that is Monday to Wednesday, we'll do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll do pharmacology, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll do pathology. All right. I think we used to do the other way around, but anyway, we now that we are doing pathology these 3 days, we'll start with pharmacology on Monday. If I believe correctly, we have done up to emetics, so we have to continue after emetics. So we'll do from that. Now, coming to symptoms of overhydration. Hold on, I'll share something with you guys. See, symptoms of overhydration, obviously if you have more amount of fluid in your body, what will happen is blood volume will go up, obviously. Other than that, you will start seeing edema in different parts of your body. All right, if you're not able to see this, okay, these are the signs. So clinically relevant signs, that is. So other than that, what will happen with edema and with increased blood flow, you will obviously have hypertension. Along with hypertension, you might also have tachycardia. Generally tachycardia is also associated with bradycardia, but in overhydration most of the time you will see tachycardia, which is increased heart rate, right? Almost more than 100, right? So the which is quite high. You'll have tachycardia, you'll have tachypnea is increased amount of respiratory rate. Normal respiratory rate is supposed to be somewhere between 16 to 20, 22. So tachypnea is a condition where your respiratory rate is over 22. Then there is something called chemosis. Chemosis is basically what you call fluid coming out of your conjunctiva. And I'll show you an image for uh, chemosis. One second. Mm, One second. Chemosis ka. Right, this is how chemosis looks. So the conjunctiva, because of excessive amount of fluid, it will start pushing out water. Right, the patient will literally have watery eyes. There will be reddish swelling, and there will be general redness around their conjunctiva and their eyes, both the eyes. Okay, that is one symptom of your overhydration. Other than that, you will have this thing. Hold on. Right. Now, what are harsh lung sounds? See, obviously, you will have increased body weight if you have fluid being built up in your body. There will be edema, and eventually, your body weight will go up a little bit. That is why you see generally, if any one of you have seen UFC or any professional fights, they will try to cut weight or come in that particular weight category by trying to dehydrate themselves a lot right before measuring their weight and all. The opposite happens with overhydration. Obviously, your weight will increase if you drink too much water. And there'll be something called harsh lung sounds, right? You'll be able to hear crackles on auscultation. If you perform auscultation, I'm hoping you know what is auscultation, right? Trying to hear the sounds of lungs, hearts, or that will be the what do you call, that is what is called auscultation. So you'll be able to hear rails sometimes, lung sounds, right? Those are lung sounds. There are rails and crackles. You'll be able to hear that if a patient has if a patient is overhydrated. Other than that, a neurologically significant sign is the patient will become restless. They can become anxious as well, right? That will happen because of overhydration. So these are the general symptomology of your overhydration. Coming to dehydration, the exact opposite will happen. Now, dehydration is a condition wherein your body is not getting enough amount of water. Now dehydration can happen because of several reasons. Either uh, let's suppose, okay, this is some of the symptoms of dehydration. But why does dehydration in general occur? Now, when we are talking about dehydration, it is not just simply decreased amount of water intake. It can also be because of increased water output. Okay, because of some reason, let's suppose a person is sweating too much, or if they are urinating too much, or they have bled out, or something or the other, where what do you call, the person's body does not have enough amount of water to sustain its normal functioning, that will be a dehydration. Also, if someone has performed what do you call, strenuous physical labor, right, that can cause dehydration. Hello. Hmm. Are you able to hear me now? If you're not able to hear me, you have to tell it to me. Either we chat group hai, you don't have to put it in WhatsApp. You do know there is a chat here, right?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है,
Can
आवाज आ
hear.
रही? You can hear?
Yes, sir.
Ganesh?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Ganesh किधर गया? He was the one who messaged not able to log in. One second. Some people are having hard time logging in. One second. Let me resend this. Right. Now, what is happening? Coming back to dehydration, because of several reasons, either your kidneys are not working properly, where the GFR is very high, or because of under secretion of ADH. The other day when I was talking about edema formation, I told you there is something called ADH, antidiuretic hormone. Normally, there should be a little bit of ADH present in your body. If there is very little amount of ADH present in your body, that will cause increased amount of diuresis. That can also lead to your what you call dehydration. So they are, the dehydration again will be multifaceted. How you will see it in general in a patient is like this, and you have to be careful about the symptoms. It can change and vary based on in what type of patient you're seeing. If it's an adult, or if it's an infant and a young kid, or if it is a what do you call, baby. So there is that. Now, if you are generally seeing what you call an adult, dehydration will present as headache. That is one of the most common symptoms that you will see if anyone who is dehydrated. Normally, when you haven't drunk water, let's suppose you don't drink water uh, for a whole day, by evening you will have swollen feet, you will have headache, all of that. This swollen feet, it is not mentioned here, but swollen feet or edema, this generally happens because your body will start over secreting cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone. Obviously, you are giving stress to your body by not consuming enough amount of water, right? This in turn, cortisol has a property of retaining sodium and water, right? It will act like aldosterone. So cortisol will cause reabsorption of sodium and water, which in turn will basically what your body will think is, if the person is not drinking enough amount of water, your body will try to retain whatever amount of water is already present in the body. Okay, so that is why cortisol is secreted in excess. It will have a secondary function of sodium water retention here, right? Because of stress in this condition, the stress being dehydration. All right, it might not be a mental stress as such, this is a physical kind of stress. Other than that, there will be dizziness, the patient may faint sometimes. Obviously the patient will be fatigued and they might be tired, they'll feel thirsty. Obviously if they haven't drunk water and they are dehydrated, they will feel thirsty. It can also be possible if you are going out in extremely hot environments, that will also dehydrate you, which is fairly common. A person will have muscle weakness because they are dehydrated, and the urine will become darker in color. Now let's suppose the color in urine is obviously because of urobilin, right? If you remember what you call jaundice and what happens to bilirubin and all, you will know that urobilin is a component of urine that will give its color, the yellowish tinge of urine is what you call achieved from your urobilin. Now what will happen is, let's suppose normally someone is urinating around 1 liter in a day, okay, for example, and it has 100 units of urobilin in it. So the ratio of urine to urobilin is 1:10, right? So there is 1 unit of urobilin to 10 units of urine. That is fine. Okay, or to 1 liter, let's suppose, or whatever it is. 1:10 ratio. Now for, or 1:100 ratio, even better, easier to understand. If there is a, if the ratio difference is 1:100, there is 1000 ml or 1 liter of urine, and what do you call, 10 units of urobilin. Okay, a proper 100 unit difference, 100 time difference. So what will happen is, if let's suppose a person is dehydrated, they will obviously urinate less, right? Because of cortisol, and because they are dehydrated, they will urinate less. If they are urinating less, the amount of urobilin being excreted has not changed. The amount of urine that is excreted, that is changed. So what will happen is, instead of urobilin, 10 units of urobilin being what do you call, dissolved in 1 liter of urine, it will be dissolved in, let's say if the person is only urinating 700 ml or 500 ml. So the ratio has doubled basically. That is why the urine will appear darker in color. That is how you gauge generally. If you are not drinking enough amount of water, your urine will come out darker and darker every time, right? And generally you will urinate much less frequently. Those were the signs you will see in a adult. Generally in infants and young kids, you will be able to see that infant is drowsy. Okay, their cerebral function will decline to such an extent that they'll start feeling sleepy, and they will be drowsy, they'll not be attentive, they'll start crying, but they'll get irritated, and when they cry they will not have enough what you call fluid to what you call form tears. So that is one. And they will obviously have dry mouth. Dry mouth is common both in adults and in children, right? They'll have a dry and sticky tongue. Sometimes these patients will develop high fever because of the stress. All right. In babies, how you see of how you gauge dehydration is, their diapers will be dry for more than 3 hours, right? If you have ever what you call handle babies, you do know of, if anytime you have seen babies as well, right? Your brothers, sisters, anyone. So you will know that they will urinate a lot, and that is why you what you call put a diaper on a baby. So if the baby has not what you call soiled the diaper for more than 3 hours, right? If it is dry, then you can what you call gauge from it that the baby might be dehydrated, and you might want to uh, make it drink a little more water or something, right? These are the signs of dehydration. I hope you guys understood this. If you have not, do let me know. Okay, I'm guessing everyone understood. See, you have to tell it from your own end, or else I will not be able to understand. And I cannot see your faces from this. So, right, that will complete our electrolyte and water imbalance chapter. The first unit in pathology is done. So we have 4 more units to do. We'll start with the second one. I'll do COPD first. All right, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. We'll do COPD, then go to TB. Okay. So, what is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease? As the name suggests, it's an obstructive disease, meaning there is obstruction in your bronchi and bronchioles, in your general, in your what do you call, respiratory tree itself, altogether from your trachea to your alveoli. Now, I do suggest that before you start reading about COPD or any other respiratory disorder, you go over to your physiology and anatomy textbook and just read it once, okay? So that you know what are the correlating terms and you understand it a little better when I refer about some particular term. All right, you can do it after class. Obviously, I'll will not go too deep in this class, but at least some brief overview. All right. Now COPD in your syllabus you do not have COPD in a lot of detail. We'll go over it briefly. COPD will generally have two main what you call diseases under it, though some textbooks include four in it. All right. They will include chronic bronchitis, emphysema, um, bronchiectasis, and where is that? Alright, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and asthma. Right, bronchial asthma. Right now, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, initially in most of the textbooks what they used to do is, or even nowadays in some textbooks, they will limit COPD as just chronic bronchitis and emphysema. At least in your textbook it has mentioned all of these four. So these four together will comprise chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, right? Today we'll try to cover what is bronchitis and emphysema. At least I'll do it briefly. Now both of them are similar in an aspect, okay, in the sense that if you have a, okay, if I talk about it from a etiological perspective, in the sense that etiology is the cause, obviously pathology or pathogenesis is how the disease occurs. So if I'm talking about etiopathogenesis, that will refer to how that cause is related to, or how that cause is leading to that disease, okay. That is what you discuss in etiopathogenesis. Right now, etiopathogenesis of COPD with respect of chronic bronchitis and emphysema is the same. There are two very important factors that will cause both bronchitis and emphysema. That is smoking and air pollution. All right, smoking and air pollution will be the two main factors that will cause both chronic bronchitis and emphysema. Now, generally speaking, in a patient with COPD, let's suppose you have a COPD patient coming in for some consultation and all, or they are getting admitted. Generally, they will present with symptoms which you will not be able to discern, because bronchitis and emphysema have very close symptoms. Okay, their symptomology will be very similar. Both of in both of them, the patient will have cough, they'll have wheezing, they'll be not able to talk properly. All of that will happen because in both of them there is blockage of airways. Okay, how it is happening will be slightly different, but in both of them symptoms will be similar. And at one point what will happen is, generally patients will start off with chronic bronchitis. So if you have a fresh patient of COPD, generally, not always, but generally they will start off with chronic bronchitis. They will have chronic bronchitis first, and eventually they will also develop emphysema. So when you have a patient with COPD in your what do you call wards, I'm not sure whether you have worked in a respiratory ward or not, but what will happen is you will be able to see in the diagnosis, if they have written COPD, they will write what do you call bronchitis dominant or predominant bronchitis or predominant emphysema, meaning they predominantly have bronchitis or predominantly have emphysema. They will have both of them, but currently the bigger problem will be whatever you're writing predominant. All right, in COPD generally, you will have patients who have only bronchitis as well, chronic bronchitis, and they will develop emphysema maybe later in their life. Maybe sometimes they might not develop it, right? But generally speaking, you will get patients who are predominant emphysema or predominant bronchitis, meaning they have both of them, and at present, one of them is causing the problem for which they have been hospitalized. Okay, did you guys understand what I just told about COPD in general and what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
चलो ठीक है, all of you are
Yes,
hoping.
sir.
ठीक है, लंग डिसऑर्डर्स में एक इंपॉर्टेंट लंग डिसऑर्डर इज chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. ठीक है, it is chronic, it will go on for a long period of time. It is obstructive, it will block your respiratory pathways, hence obstructive pulmonary disease. All right, COPD will include four different diseases under it. All right, bronchitis, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, bronchiectasis, and bronchial asthma. Today we'll go over bronchitis, okay, chronic bronchitis. So what is happening in this? Uh, the main cause of chronic bronchitis, as I told you, main cause for both emphysema and chronic bronchitis will remain the same, which is cigarette smoking and air pollution. There are other causes, but these two will be the most important ones. Okay, hold on, I'll show you something of chronic bronchitis. One second. Right, I do have the image. So यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा? Because of an inflammatory condition, mucus is being secreted, which is in turn, see, this is what happens. Bronchitis, now, itis का मतलब there is inflammation, obviously, right? Bronchitis in specifically refers to bronchial inflammation, meaning there is mucus being built up in your bronchi. यहाँ पर क्या होता? Because of over secretion of mucus, the patient will start coughing. Now, generally, if you want to tell that a patient is, if you want to diagnose a patient who has bronchitis, chronic bronchitis, they have to meet a few certain criteria. Okay, in the sense that, let's suppose I am telling person X, okay, whoever it is, person X has bronchitis, or particular person X has emphysema. They need to have what you call cough. They should be coughing almost the whole day for 3 months, or for almost every day in 3 months in a year. So continuously in a year, let's suppose someone has uh, come to me in 2020. Okay, let's suppose some person named Ramu came to me, and I'm thinking of diagnosing him with uh, chronic bronchitis. They should meet a few criteria. That criteria will be, Ramu should have coughed. Okay, let's suppose they came to me at the end of 2020. They should have coughed for at least 3 months, almost the whole day, every day. Okay, for 3 months, that three particular seasons in line, or it can be varied as well. Generally, it will be in line. So generally, winter months may they will cough more than other months. Okay, so for 3 months, for almost the whole day and almost every day, it can be every other day, it can be every day, or something like that. Out of 1 month, maybe 20-25 days, they are continuously coughing for 3 months. This is happening for 2 or more consecutive years. So Ramu coughed like that in 2020, in 2019, and also maybe in 2018. That is when I will what you call diagnose them with chronic bronchitis. All right. In that case, I will diagnose them with chronic bronchitis, wherein I know that there is enough amount of mucus being built up and inflammation being caused, that is causing cough in that patient. Right. Cough is something that is a reflex mechanism in your body. Right. It is something wherein your body is not able to get enough amount of oxygen. Hence, your body is forcing itself to. It's a reflux wherein you will try to grasp more air inside. That is when you cough. Right. If there is something that is blocking your airway, or if you're not able to get enough amount of oxygen, in either case, what you call, you will get a cough. Now, other than what you call smoking, you will also have a few particular things that can cause bronchitis. For example, industrial fumes. All right, people who work in cotton mill, especially people who work in cotton mills or flax or hemp industries, they will have what you call this bronchitis. Or people who work in industries with a lot of smoke and chemical dust and that kind of thing, toxic fumes, they can have, especially nitric oxide and sodium dioxide. These two fumes are quite dangerous, and they can exacerbate bronchitis. That will be a problem. Some people are what you call genetically predisposed to bronchitis. Now, in general, bronchitis is an issue where more amount of what you call mucus is being produced in your bronchi, and what is happening is it is blocking the passageway. So, if this is a bronchi, let's suppose, okay, if imagine this is a bronchi, okay, imagine there is a tube here, and this is one end of the bronchi, okay, terminal bronchi, respiratory bronchi, whatever it is. Now, what is happening is this bronchi is being clogged by mucus. Let's suppose mucus is coming and building up like this, okay, in your bronchi. What will happen is you will not be able to breathe in air properly. Other than that, one more important problem that happens is, even though the patient is somewhat able to breathe in oxygen, they will not be able to breathe out properly. Meaning, whatever amount of carbon dioxide that is being formed in their lungs will not be able to what you call go out properly. Because of this, what will happen is there will be pressure created in your alveoli and your what you call bronchioles. I'll repeat once again. What is happening is there is your bronchiole. Let's suppose this is your respiratory bronchiole. Okay, respiratory bronchiole, terminal bronchiole. Again, I strongly suggest that you go over the anatomy physiology once. Okay, let's suppose this is a bronchiole or any bronchi. Now, what is happening is mucus is coming and building up in the inner walls of your bronchi because of what you call irritation from smoking, because of toxic fumes, because of air pollution, whatnot. Mucus is being produced in excess, and that mucus is causing, specifically in bronchi, okay, it is causing inflammation there, and ultimately what is happening is there is blockage of your lumen, the lumen of that bronchi. What will happen is the patient will not be able to breathe properly. One thing is oxygen will not come inside. More importantly, carbon dioxide will not be able to go outside properly. So the patient will have hypoxia and hypercapnia. Hypoxia is obviously what you call lack of oxygen, and hypercapnia is Hypoxia is a decrease in the amount of oxygen, and hypercapnia is increase in the amount of CO2. Basically, PCO2 will go up. Partial pressure of CO2 will go up. Now, what happens during this is, hold on, let me show this to you in a diagrammatic form if you can. Okay. Let's suppose I have यहाँ पर one particular bronchiole and there is a alveolus attached to this bronchiole. Okay, this is only for understanding sake, please excuse my diagrammatic skills. Now यहाँ पर alveolus है, यहाँ पर you will have the capillary that is, okay, let's draw the capillary in a, नहीं blue में ही रहने दो, इसको अलग draw करेंगे, right. Let's make lungs pink. Okay. Okay, I hope you can understand this. Okay, just for example purposes. Now, blue. Right. Now, imagine this is a blood vessel that is carrying deoxygenated blood. Okay, it has deoxygenated blood in this particular pulmonary vein. Now, what will happen is normally, you know, in case of respiration, this deoxygenated blood will get oxygen when this what you call deoxygenated blood exchanges carbon dioxide to the alveolus, and here oxygen comes in. Right, hold on, let me do this with a different. Let's say oxygen is red. Okay, so oxygen is coming in and carbon dioxide is going out. Okay, the red one is oxygen, blue one is carbon dioxide. So what is happening here, exchange is occurring because of this, and carbon dioxide, hold on, carbon dioxide ऐसा उतारेंगे, carbon dioxide is moving out. In this case, everything is normal, you have normal respiration, that is fine, the circulation is normal. अरे अच्छा ठीक है, just imagine that is carbon dioxide. नहीं तो तुम लोगों को ये confusion होगा नहीं, should have done it in blue. Right. Now carbon dioxide is moving out of your alveolus, right? It will go out of your lung and out of your breath. So यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा? Because of mucus buildup, let's take, because of inflammation, because of mucus buildup, let's suppose this bronchi is getting inflamed like this. Okay. So what will happen is the lumen or the passageway through which oxygen can come in, if you can see this, the space has decreased. Okay, the lumen through which oxygen is coming in and carbon dioxide is going out, that has decreased significantly. Because of that, two important things will happen. That is hypoxia and hypercapnia. All right, that is decrease in PO2 and increase in PCO2, meaning the amount of carbon dioxide that is present here. See, यहाँ से exchange हो रहा carbon dioxide, but it is not able to go out, right? And oxygen is not able to come in properly. Because of this, what will happen is यहाँ पर carbon dioxide will start getting built up in your blood vessel, and when carbon dioxide starts getting built up, it will increase the pressure in your blood vessel. Because of this increased amount of pressure, fluid will start moving out of your capillaries. Okay, in this area locally you will start having edema in this particular area around your interstitial tissue. Hold on, right, I need black. Right, so around this tissue area, what you will be able to see is edema, because carbon dioxide is being accumulated here, which in turn puts pressure on your blood vessel. That blood vessel which was already carrying the deoxygenated blood, all right, that fellow will have more pressure on it because it is not able to exchange carbon dioxide outside. So during this increased amount of pressure, what will happen is fluid will start moving out and you will have local edema there. This edema will not just, this amount of pressure will not just be seen in this part. You will start having edema all around your lung, and sometimes edema also in your peripheral tissue. You will start having edema sometimes in your what do you call hands and legs as well. Mostly it will be what do you call confined only to your lungs, but it can occur elsewhere as well. And because you're not getting enough amount of oxygen, what will happen is your lips will become blue, or the patient who is affected with bronchitis, their lips will become blue. Because of this, bronchitis patients have a very specific name. All right, they are called blue bloaters. Okay, this is because of discoloration of their lips is because of cyanosis. Obviously they are not getting enough amount of oxygen, they will have cyanosis. That is why their lips are becoming blue. Other than that, because of edema, their lungs will literally bloat and their body will bloat. Okay, because of increased amount of blood what do you call pressure. See, यहाँ से I'm not sure तुम लोगों को उतना डिटेल में है, but what will happen is if pressure increases in your pulmonary circulation, it will put pressure on your right ventricle. If you remember cardiology, right ventricle से blood goes to your what do you call blood is pumped to your lungs to get oxygenated. So if pressure is increased in your pulmonary veins, pressure will be increased in your right ventricle. That will ultimately cause right heart failure, and you will start having edematous condition around your body. That is why these patients are called blue bloaters. Okay, I hope you understand bronchitis. Here there is an issue with inflammation of your bronchi. All right, we'll discuss about emphysema tomorrow. You guys have any doubts? We still have 7 minutes. Now you have to
No, sir.
tell. No one has any doubts? Really? Acha. Maria, why does bronchitis occur? What are the two most common causes of bronchitis? You can either type it in or tell it out. What is causing bronchitis? I told you two important factors cause bronchitis. Acha, at least one of them. I'm not able to hear your voice. Your audio is not working properly. Is anyone else able to hear her voice? You can type it in. If audio nahi aa raha to, you can type it in the chat box. What is the cause of bronchitis? Any one cause of bronchitis? See, you guys have to listen. I'm not sure whether you're listening or not, or if you're understanding or not. I will not know until unless you reciprocate. So again, the purpose of these classes will be mute if you're not able to understand or you're not able to follow. There's no point in taking the class if you're not able to follow, considering there are only 7 participants. So what is your class strength? Anusha, what is your class strength? Anusha is also gone. मेरी आवाज नहीं आ रही क्या?
Around 45, sir.
Around 45. Okay, so if my math is not wrong, there are around 38 people missing. Other than me,
Yes,
there are
sir.
7 people. Yeah. So see, the other day when we had a meeting as well, they clearly told if you guys are not able to come, smoking इतनी देर बाद. Okay. देखो यहाँ पर टाइप कर सकते हैं आप. See, smoking is one cause. Another cause? Yajik, what is the other cause? Smoking is one important cause. What is the other cause that can exacerbate or can lead to bronchitis? I told you two important cause. If you're not actively smoking, you can also get something inside that can damage your lung tissue. What is that?
Heredity.
Heredity. That is not the most important. See, pollution, air pollution and smoking. I told you two important causes. Heredity does play a cause, but it is much more minor than you cannot control heredity. Right? You can, in a way, control your output on air pollution. Your not output. You can control your input on air pollution by wearing a mask, right? You cannot control genetics. That is why two important causes of what you call bronchitis will be smoking and air pollution. Right. Also, the other day when we were discussing that most of the second years are not coming to classes and all, the only option left was to make Khayyum sir call your parents and you guys. So please do share that with your friends as well. If you want to have that conversation with Khayyum sir, then you are welcome to. Right. If not, I would strongly suggest that you guys attend classes because 7 people are not done. What about the morning classes? Are more people present in the morning?
The same, sir.
Same. Oh, beautiful. Okay. ठीक है. Chalo. See, currently we don't know whether the situation will what do you call let down anytime soon. That too. What we are expecting at least is it will go at least up to December, maybe longer, right? So you might have exams. You will definitely. There is a good chance that you will have exams. Right now they have put GNM exams, right? Down the line they might even put BSc exams, main exams as well. Right now, supplies are going on. Right, supplies will start in July, I think. So please
Line
be
or
prepared.
one.
Yeah, please be prepared.
Only exam.
All right. Now it will not be like SSC. Okay, I don't think all of you will be promoted just as is.
Sir,
So
but
don't have those
for the Andhra people, they did so.
degree.
No, sir, supply BSc.
Dekho. So if you are hoping for that, then see, if you are not able to learn what is there in the second year, you will definitely not be able to learn what is there in third year. Eventually, you will hit a cap.
No, sir, it is just about the supplies, backlog.
So be prepared. You have to come to classes. Tell that to your friends as well. We don't know. There might be a point where they think that क्या बोलते, it doesn't matter even if people die because you have to. There can be a point where what do you call people have to live with corona. In that sense, everything will open, even educational institutions. Right. So they might actually call you to come and write the exams. Right. So be prepared for that. Chalo, see you.